So around cylinder number 1's spark plug hole, I can't get a socket in to tighten the plug. So I'm going to take a grinding wheel and just sand this down a little bit. That way, whenever I have to get it back off again, I'm not fighting trying to get a socket in there. That'll work. So the spark plug is considerably easier to get to now. As you can see, took off some material from that manifold and don't have too hard of a time now getting a socket in and out of there. And these are truck headers, and I just flipped them this way and they work fine. So the other few odds and ends that I have to get done is the fuel pump is wired from the relay, but I have to get a signal wire down to it from the Holley. And I need to get the CO2 bottle filled, finish hooking up the harness for all the sensors and the inputs and outputs and all that good stuff. But all the other relays and everything work. I did put a circuit breaker in it, a manual one. And I also have a 150 amp breaker there as well. But everything works as it should as far as transmission fan goes, water pump and radiator go. So that's all in good shape. And I have to hook up the CO2 line for the shifter as well. But other than that, I can get some fuel in it and hopefully start it. Oh, I also have a drive shaft being made as I speak. Hopefully coming in tomorrow, so I can go pick that up as well, check the rear end angle and all that. So we're getting close. So I have all the wires ran in basically one area. So this is from the NOS relay for the trans brake, and the wires for the trans brake itself is already grounded. So it uses a PWM, pulse width modulation, for ground. And then I have the wires here that just have to get ran to the Holley, which I'm not too familiar with. So I'm going to let somebody else do that. And I have my inputs and outputs here, dome pressure sensor, my 12 volt, and my ground for the Holley itself. I already have power ran to the one plug and it's fused there. So I'm just getting power. I'm tapping from this 12 volt block here. Then I have the ground ran up here to the roll cage, and it's ground off there with a ground screw going into this roll bar. And that's pretty much it. I got the CO2 bottle mounted in here. It's not that stable right now. I'm going to have to figure out a better way to mount these, whether it's just a different ratchet strap, because it still moves back and forth, but it's enough just to hold it there for right now. So I'll probably have to get a tighter ratchet strap or make up a bracket system for the back part. And I got the, I have the gates ran off this part of the regulator itself. This is a regulator from Precision. They're out of Oregon. They make very nice regulators. Shout out to them. So I have a T coming off that has a male side on one and two female outlets. So I have my gauge port on one, and then obviously the leading side going to the waste gates, which goes up here to the increase, and then this is your decrease, and it splits off and one goes to each gate. And then I have the other one for the shifter and the chute, and that comes right down to here, obviously, before it comes to the MAC valve to go to the shifter. And I will eventually be putting in a pneumatic T before this or after it, or at some point when I have to run the chute out the back, because I do not have that as of right now. That'll probably be a winter project. Maybe I'll make a video on that. But other than that, it's pretty much ready to go. I don't really have a lot else I can do on it until I get it to my guy who's going to tune it for me. So the last thing I did today was just hook up the dome sensor and run it into there. Or not the sensor, but the plug for it, courtesy of Low Dollar Motorsports, along with the sensor itself. All my sensors are from Low Dollar Motorsports, including the fuel pressure sensor and the oil pressure sensor as well. And that's about it to catch you guys up on everything. My battery drained down because I was testing my fans and stuff, and pretty sure I drained the battery too far down, so I had to recharge that. I got a 16-volt charger there. But other than that, it's about ready to go. So now it's kind of just a waiting game when I can get it to him. So with a turn of events, I am currently pulling the passenger side exhaust manifold off because it started to spew coolant out, and I hope it's not coming from the head itself, because that would really suck. And I'm supposed to get this truck out of here by tomorrow to get it tuned, but looks like that might not be happening at this rate if it's something kind of serious. So I'm gonna take the manifold off, turn the water pump back on, and try and see where the leak's coming from, because I heard it spewing out. It's all there, so I gotta try and find where it's coming from. So got the spark plug wires off, the exhaust manifold's V-band off, and now I'm gonna take out these last couple bolts and turn the pump back on, see if I can find it. So a little trick Pops taught me is whenever you're tapping or whenever you're drilling too, know the depth you need to go, especially on something like a water jacket like this. You want to know the depth of it. Tape it off so you don't go too far into it, because you don't want to drill further than you really have to. And then I use some grease just that way, because if you were able to run this tap in dry, or even if it was only oiled, what it'll do is it'll just keep pushing those burrs deeper into the hole, and then you won't be able to get them out with a toothpick or a little dental tool or whatever. So I grease it a little bit, and every time I pull it out, it gets all these filings on the ends of it, which is good. And then you just got to wipe it off, re-grease it, and then put it back in and keep going. But it's a little trick to keep as little debris in the engine or in the water jackets as possible. So shout out to my dad for that one. I appreciate it. So I got it about almost done, actually. So I'm going to test the bolt dry first, and then just make sure the threads catch and it's tight. And then I will cut the bolt to length and then get it back on and put some cement or silicone on it with it, and hopefully it won't leak no more. So it's about 4 hours later, and as you guys saw, I'm trying to get as much water out of the hole where the header bolt goes as I can. So that's where I'm at right now, just making sure it's dry, because if it's not, this silicone just isn't going to set properly and it'll probably just leak again. And I'd hate to leave it for a day trying to let it cure, and then I circulate water through again, it just starts pouring back out. So I'm trying to do my due diligence with the vacuum and shoving some towels up in there, trying to get as much of the crap out as I can, because I really don't want to have to deal with this again. It's like 11 right now. Guys, I got the manifold back on. There's not really a good way for me to set up the camera to get that on, but I mean, it's just a couple bolts. So there's the one, as you can see, it's like the eyeball bolt that we have there. I needed 2 washers to make up some of the space before bottom out against the back of it, because it's a blind hole. So what I did is I siliconed it, put some heavy duty RTV waterproof stuff on it, and I got the other bolts in first, and then I was able to catch that one and get it just about as tight as the other one. So I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to let that RTV set overnight so it can harden or cure, and then once that's done, we will fill it up tomorrow, and fingers crossed it doesn't leak again. So all I got to do now is get the dipstick tube back on the stud here, and then just get the V-band back on for the exhaust, and that's pretty much it. I'm just going to leave it alone and hope it cures and sets up, so we shall see. Alright, so I didn't film too much from when I dropped the truck off, but it's only been about 2 days, and fortunate enough to have it running already. I have a few kinks I have to work out, but we're going to get it loaded up and take it home, and I have to start looking at a few different things and get it situated so I can have it fully tuned. The exhaust isn't long enough, so I got to just weld a V-band on and increase the length of that a little bit, and just some other little odds and ends here and there, but we're going to get it up and get it home. Alright guys, so the truck does run. I am so happy it does. I'm glad I don't have to push it in and out of here anymore. So I have to pull the intake off now. I'm not going to film that for this video because it's already been long enough, and it seems like more people like the short and sweet videos than they do the longer ones, unless you're actually trying to watch a video on how to do something specifically. So I'm going to pull the intake off now so I can get to the steam ports and redo them, because that's where it's leaking from. Fill it up with more coolant, check for leaks again, and then I got to pull the valve cover off and redo the gasket on it. I already have new gaskets for it. It's not sitting in the groove right. I'm pretty sure that's all it is, because once I had it running and I let it build oil pressure up, I saw it was just starting to drip down the head, and it was just from the groove in the valve cover where the gasket's kicked out of it. So I got to do that, and then I fabbed up the exhaust as well, or the rest of it. I think it came out pretty good. Just some 5-inch stainless. I had to extend it because the O2 sensor was too close to fresh air, so I wasn't able to get an accurate reading to tune it fully. So it just has a base tune in it now, so it can run, and I can just move it in and out if I have to. Just makes it easier than having to push it. So that's the one thing I'm so glad I don't have to do anymore. But all is well, and Frank does run, so I will catch up with you guys later. I'll definitely have some more content a lot sooner on Frank. I went without a few months of posting anything just because I was so dead set on getting this thing done before winter. So that way I can move it in and out here and there if need be. I can start it if I need to, you know, just keep an eye on it. And then next summer's gonna hit, and we're gonna hit the track hard and see what we can't do, what we can get into. It's gonna be a big learning process and a big learning curve. So we'll see how he does. I think he's gonna be one bag little unit, but that's all for right now. Anything else, Bailey? No? See ya.